How's the nap going? Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Reading in the Dark. My name is Byron and I read sometimes. This video is going to be my most anticipated reads of 2020 video. I did one of these last year and I'm going to do one now, obviously, because here we are. First of all, I hope everybody's month is going well. I hope December has started off well for you. It can be a stressful month and I hope everybody is remembering to breathe. Remember the reason for the season, whatever that may be to you. Or maybe it isn't a season to you at all, in which case I hope you're breathing, because if you're stressed out and you don't even celebrate, never mind. It is December 2020 and it is time to start thinking about the books that are coming out next year that I am excited to read. There are actually quite a few. And if you thought that I hadn't thought about this because I was just so crushed under the weight of my, 131 book TBR, you'd be wrong because I have thought about it. Well, actually, you'd be right because I hadn't thought about it until today, really. But then I did start to think about it and I came up with some good stuff. So there are a couple of books that I am anticipating reading. And first of all, before I even get into this, I have to take a drink of my hot cocoa because it is December and, you know, I just can't make a video and not talk about the hot cocoa. Yet again, here I am with my spicy hot chocolate in my favorite Christmas tree mug. I always worry that this is going to just crack apart because it is very, very cracked and it does have a chip out of right here and it could come apart at any time. So I'm taking my life into my hands, but I think it's worth it. I have a Santa hat next to me and I could have put it on for this video, but I thought this isn't really like a Christmassy themed video exactly. I mean, I've got the Christmassy stuff behind me. There's Santa Mickey sitting next to all of the books, literary. I've got that, but it's not a Christmas video exactly, so I didn't put on the Santa hat. I'm just wearing the read hat, and I hope that's okay. Don't be mad at me. The last video that I made, I had this sitting on the windowsill, and I kept forgetting that I had it, and I didn't really drink it, and that was tragic, so I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to hold on to it. There's 3 books on here that are not new to you, and they're not new to anybody, actually. These are not new books. They're just books that I really am looking forward to reading in 2020, and the first is Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow. Now, this is the book. Now, obviously, it's about Alexander Hamilton. It is an exhaustive biography. I think it's, well, it is... The author is a recipient of the Pulitzer Prize, and it is the book that inspired Lin-Manuel Miranda's Broadway musical Hamilton. I am into history. I've never been super into like political history or like American presidential history, but I have a friend who is exceedingly talented and who is actually currently in the national tour of Hamilton. And they're going to be in Florida playing several different cities, so I'm gonna get to see Hamilton, and I thought I should read the book before I saw it. Not because it would necessarily improve my enjoyment of the show so much because the show was inspired by it, but because I don't know that much about Alexander Hamilton and I figured I should educate myself. The only problem is it is 800 pages. So, and that's not a problem. I have actually read some people's reviews of this who loved the musical and thought they would read the book, who don't even read that often, who said that the book flew by. So it probably will for me too, and I am really looking forward to it. The next book on this list is a book that is sitting on my shelf somewhere. It's called New Suns. Ta-da, I'm back. Yeah, so New Suns, this is a collection of short stories. This is speculative fiction written by all authors of color, collected and edited by Nisi Shawl. It has actually an introduction by LeVar Burton, the actor from Star Trek and Roots and Reading Rainbow. And I pre-ordered this book a long time ago. In fact, I think this may have come out at the beginning of 2019. And I haven't read it because I am a horrible failure of a human being. It's gonna be so good. I love short stories, especially short stories of speculative fiction, and I want to support more authors of color. So I'm anticipating reading this in February. I'm going to be reading only authors of color in February, but don't tell anybody because I haven't actually announced that yet. The next book on my list of most anticipated reads that is not a new release in 2020 is actually not even close to being a new book, and that is The Shining by Stephen King. Aha. So this is one of the many books that my friend Bert gave me for my birthday and challenged me to read by the end of October, which I failed to do. So this is my mass market paperback copy. I love that this is a mass market paperback because when you have a really chunky book, sometimes it's a lot easier to hold on to one of these books. Case in point, I'm holding on to it right now and I'm doing such a good job of it. And I've only got one hand available. And look, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. It's perfect. Yeah, so The Shining. I don't know if I need to introduce this. The Overlook Hotel. This guy goes crazy. It's atmospheric and scary. There was a crazy movie made with Jack Nicholson that I never really liked by Stanley Kubrick, but I haven't seen it in a long time, and actually Stephen King didn't love that movie either. And there's a sequel out. He wrote a sequel, and then there's a sequel movie coming out, which you all already know that, but I have never read this. I've never read anything by Stephen King. I was gonna read this in October, and I failed to do that, so I'm anticipating actually getting around to this. It would be cool to read this and then Dr. Sleep in quick succession if I could manage it, so we'll see. And then the rest of my anticipated list is actually new releases, so now I don't have to hold anything else up. What a relief, I'm exhausted. You guys, I wish I could explain how good this is. Oh, and there's the cayenne pepper. Hello. All right, so there are a few releases in 2020 that I knew about and some that I didn't, that I looked up this evening in preparation for this video. And the first is actually a sequel to The Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. It's already out, actually. So this one is new, but it's not a 2020 release. It was actually released on December 1st, and it is called The Andromeda Evolution. And it's sold under, you know, the big title of Michael Crichton, but it's written by Daniel H. Wilson, who wrote Robopocalypse, I believe, which I have not read. But yeah, so I don't actually feel the need to blurb this very much. The Andromeda Strain is about an extraterrestrial bacteria, basically, or a virus, which is picked up by a satellite in orbit that was called Scoop, that the government put in orbit specifically to harvest bacteria from space. I'm infected. Okay, you guys. You guys, my hot chocolate is very strong. It's spicy, and I think I didn't quite swallow it properly. So anyway, that was exciting. So that's what the Andromeda Strain is about. It's about this top secret scientific underground facility where they take what remains of that satellite and analyze the organism to try and neutralize it because it's spreading and it has killed an entire town full of people in Piedmont, Arizona. That's the Andromeda Strain. And it's a really good movie by Robert Wise. It's dated, of course, but Robert Wise is an amazing director. He directed the film of Sound of Music. I love that movie. It is so dated and the music is so delightfully dated. But anyway, I love the Andromeda Strain and I also have read the book. I read it a very, very long time ago. And now this person has written a sequel where I believe the idea is that the organism, which was nicknamed Andromeda in the first book, has mutated enough that it is now dangerous again. So it's just, you know, the gang's all back in action kind of thing. So that's the first book on my list. The second is Dead Astronauts by Jeff Vandermeer. Jeff Vandermeer, this book is out on December 3rd. And Jeff Vandermeer, in case you do not already know, is the author of Annihilation and books 2 and 3 in that trilogy, the names of which I'm for some reason at a loss for right now. And I really enjoyed them all. I especially adored the first book. His writing is crazy. He's part of like the new weird literary movement, and I dig it hardcore. I even liked the movie of Annihilation, even though it was so different, but I liked it for what it was. So basically, this is actually book 2 in a series that started with a 2017 novel called Born, and that has to do with like a kind of a post-apocalyptic world where the company, with a capital C, I think they were in the business of releasing like man-made organisms into the world, and like they are responsible for kind of destroying the world. And I don't know too much about that book, and I've always wanted to read it and I never got around to reading it, and now he's written a sequel and I didn't know it was a sequel, but it's a sequel, so now I have to read Born before I can read Dead Astronauts. But I am going to read both because I wanted to read Born anyway. Under the watchful eye of the company, 3 characters, Grayson, Morse, and Chen, shapeshifters, amorphous, part human, part extensions of the landscape, make their way through forces that would consume them. A blue fox, a giant fish, and language stretched to the limit. A messianic blue fox who slips through warrens of time and space on a mysterious mission. A homeless woman haunted by a demon who finds the key to all things in a strange journal. A giant leviathan of a fish, centuries old, who hides a secret, remembering a past that may not be its own. Three ragtag rebels waging an endless war for the fate of the world against an all-powerful corporation. A raving madman who wanders the desert lost in the past, haunted by his own creation, an invisible monster whose name he has forgotten and whose purpose remains hidden. So Jeff Vandermeer may or may not have written that blurb, but he does like to write paragraphs that consist of just lists of things. So maybe he wrote that. I adore his writing. It is just something that you have to take a few minutes to like sink into, and then it all works. The next book on my list is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, which comes out on March 10th. You've probably heard of this. This tells the story of a woman who I think would be 32, who is being asked to come forward to provide her testimony at a chorus of other young women who are providing testimony in a case against a man who is being accused of sexual assault or misconduct. And she had a relationship with him when she was 15, and he was her English teacher, and he was 42. And at the time, she thought it was a love affair, and now that she's older, she has to wrestle with the concept that maybe it wasn't as consensual as she has always kind of told herself it was as she's been growing up. Because as a young woman, she felt like she was in control and doing what she wanted to do and having a great time, and moved on seemingly relatively unscathed. But now, as a grown-up, she's being forced to look back on that episode in her life and wonder, as a 15-year-old, did I actually really know what I was doing? Was it really consensual, and can it be? Because technically, of course, it can't. So it is being described as an explosive, provocative novel. It certainly sounds like it would be. It sounds really, really fascinating, and I love stuff like that, so I'm interested in reading that book. It's been talked about quite a bit, and it's on a lot of like anticipated lists for next year, and I can certainly see why. The next book on my list is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. N.K. Jemisin is the author of the Broken Earth series. This is going to be released on March 26th, and this is like a supernatural, like adventure thriller book, which is going to be a part of a series. And it says something to the effect of every city has a soul, and New York City has 5. But lurking underneath the earth is unimaginable evil force that is going to destroy the city unless the 5 souls of the city, aka its 5 protectors, can come together to save it. So I don't really know what that means, and that's okay. It sounds like a supernatural thing written by a great author that I've never not heard great things about. So I'm definitely going to pick that book up. The next book on my list. Why is Instagram open? That's confusing. The next book on my list is a book that I also found out tonight it was coming out, and I thought, oh, that's so serendipitous, because I just read her first novel. This is The Other Family by Loretta Nyhan. This comes out on April 1st, or so we believe. The blurb for this says, a woman searches for her adopted... Oh no, this isn't the blurb. This is not the blurb. This is what I wrote as a note for myself, but I think it turned out pretty well. So I'm just going to read it to you. A woman searches for her adopted daughter's biological relatives in order to save her life from a life-threatening autoimmune disorder. So I read the blurb, and of course it was really, really long. But yeah, basically her daughter, who she adopted, is having a very serious life-threatening illness. That's an autoimmune disease. And in order to, they need to do some DNA testing on her immediate relatives, and so she has to track down her family. And it's a whole thing about life and family versus found family and the nature of love and all of that. And I have to tell you, Digging In by Loretta Nyhan was one of those books that just seemed like this cute, trite, sweet, silly little romp, contemporary woman trying to find herself again after her husband passes away. And it was so much better than that. It was so beautiful, and it had me in tears, and I loved it. So I'm absolutely going to read whatever else Loretta Nyhan comes out with, and that is The Other Family, out on April 1st. Let's see, is this the second to last book on my list? And I almost feel like it shouldn't be the second to last, it should be the last. But in terms of like the timing of when the books are coming out, this is the second to last on my list. So this is a book that, once again, I kind of hoped this was happening. I hoped this book existed, but I didn't really know for sure. And lo and behold, there is a new book by Ottessa Moshfegh coming out in 2020. This book is called Death in Her Hands. It is being released on April 21st. This is basically a... I'm sure it's going to be a weird, funny, strange, twisted narration because it's Moshfegh. But basically it says it's a story of an elderly woman who takes a walk every day. And on her walk one day, she finds a cryptic note on the ground that says the following, quote, "Her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here is her dead body." What a weird note. So yeah, so this woman finds this note that is like hinting at this like cover up and this murder and this whole mystery thing. And this elderly woman gets all wrapped up in it. It has something to do with the house that she lives in. And it's being described as horror meets suspense meets black comedy. So again, yeah, that sounds like Moshfegh to me. So obviously, sign me up. I adore Ottessa Moshfegh, okay? I loved Eileen. I absolutely adored My Year of Rest and Relaxation. My review to that book is up on my channel right now, and I will put it in the cards. I hope I'm pointing to the right corner of the screen. Because, yeah, I think I am. I've never done this before. I've never done the whole, here's a link in the cards, but I'm going to do it. But yeah, so my review of My Year of Rest and Relaxation is will be linked in the cards right here and in the description below. She's such a unique writer. I also really liked Maglue, which was a novella that she wrote about an alcoholic sailor. She's such a unique voice, you guys. If you have not read any of these books by Ottessa Moshfegh, you've got to give her a shot. And you might hate her, but you might love the blank out of her because she's so funny and so crass and so weird and such a brilliant writer. So I love her, and I will absolutely, well, I don't love her. Never met her. Maybe she's terrible, but she seems fine. I have a hardcover of her short story collection that I have actually not picked up yet. Oh, it's right here. I've been talking about her and not picking up the books, but yeah. Homesick for Another World is the short story collection that I really need to get to. I haven't read yet. Yeah, no, I love her writing, and I'm looking forward to this book big time because I didn't even know it existed, so sign me up. And then the last book on my list, this is funny, is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, which is being released on May 19th. So I'm sure a bunch of you knew about this. This is a prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy. Now, I didn't know there was a prequel coming out. I had no idea. I hadn't heard about it. I've read The Hunger Games. I have not read books 2 and 3. I think I read The Hunger Games for my first ever readathon, which was Booktubeathon in 2018. And I really, really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was great. It was a page turner. There's a reason that it's a huge hit. And I've seen the second movie, but I haven't read any of the other books, and I haven't seen any of the further movies. So I need to finish that trilogy first, obviously. But then I want to read this because this is a prequel. This is set 64 years before book 1, on the eve of, or on the morning of the 10th reaping. And I don't know any more than that. I don't think anybody else does either. I don't know what there is to the story that Suzanne Collins wants to tell that goes back 64 years, but clearly that's something that was important to her. And it is my understanding that she has not written anything since the Hunger Games trilogy was completed. So everyone is very excited for this book. I certainly am, and I had no idea it was happening. But once again, I can't read it until I read 2 other books first. So The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, which is coming out on May 19th. And that is the last book in my list. So those are my most anticipated reads. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10. So those are my 10 most anticipated reads. I'm a moron. I think sitting over here is a problem for me. You won't know this, but I just said that sentence 57 times. So anyway, those are my 10 most anticipated reads of 2020. I think it's cool that I'm actually looking forward to books that are new that haven't been released yet. So I've got a lot of really good reading coming up, and so do the rest of you. I hope everybody enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can hit that thumbs up button and that will help me out a lot. If you love this video and you'd like to see more content like this, including, more discussions of hot cocoa, the possibility of a return of the Santa hat and Mickey characters, all of this can be yours for free if you simply subscribe to my channel, and that would help me out even more. So, until the next time, you guys, I hope you all are doing well and that your reading month is progressing nicely and that you continue to have a wonderful 2019, and I will see you all in the next video, and until then, I will be here in the dark reading.